Hello and welcome to today's FP webinar. The topic is Managed Infrastructure on Premises, and I'm Bill Newton, Marketing Manager here at Fpweb.net, and with me today is Dan Pinkley, our Lead Infrastructure Engineer. Dan, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
This is a picture here of Dan and a strange man with a beard as well. So, Dan, what we're going to talk about today is managed infrastructure on premises, and I want to talk about the benefits of having your infrastructure managed, outsourcing that to another company to handle that. And there's lots of reasons why I think that companies stay on premises, and what we want to focus on are the benefits of having that infrastructure managed, and then also get into how to choose a service provider for that service. And then we'll take some questions. So I'd like to remind everyone to submit those at any point throughout the presentation. That way we can have them queued up for us at the end to immediately dive into those. And then at the very end, we'll give away a $50 Amazon gift card to one lucky participant. So, Dan, I'm going to turn it over to you and ask, what are the benefits of managed infrastructure?
Well, believe it or not, there are quite a bit of benefits to keeping your infrastructure on premise. Some of it could be, say you spent a lot of money on your equipment, you've got all your warranties paid for, you've got licensing costs. You don't want to just turn around and try to migrate into the cloud for some reason. You might have a compliance thing, say HIPAA or something similar, to where it mandates you keeping your data and your data stores on premise. You might have something that has to stay on premise for a long time. You need to keep that there. But where we come in is the help, the how-to, the expertise. Say you are a small company and you've only got a handful of admins and engineers. One of those key engineers, they move on. They go somewhere else, something happens, they take on a new project. What do you do to fill that gap? Well, that's where we come in. We kind of help bridge that gap between, one generation of engineers to another generation. We can help further along projects. So you have a big project that you need some more expertise in consulting on. We can help with that too. We could free up your team to actually work on your projects, and we just manage the support aspect of things and the monitoring, just to make sure that there's no issues going on, so that way they're very focused on getting to the end result of the projects. Keeping your processes and procedures, again, bridging that gap. You don't ever lose that knowledge. You don't have to onboard somebody. It cuts down on that time. The interview process, the hiring process, it all takes time. So we can help get you from, one point to the next point without actually slowing anything down in your world.
I would imagine that's a pretty key part of this, is when you talk about whether or not you've lost a key engineer, or maybe you're looking to expand your team and you're looking for an additional member. And then you start weighing the time and the resources in finding someone, or listing the job.
Exactly.
Doing that search, and then the whole hiring, the interviewing, the hiring, the onboarding, and then once you have this person, then regardless of that skill level, there's probably going to be some time to get used to the way that those skills need to be applied to the company. And then once you have that person completely trained up, then it's a matter of retaining that talent, because this is kind of a unique skill set. So you start looking at, would it be better to have an entire team of experts available 24/7 versus one person for 40 hours a week, say?
Exactly.
And then, like Dan was talking about, that's a consistent presence when you start talking about having that team of experts at the disposal to manage your infrastructure. It fills that gap, it bridges that divide as you do have staff turnover, to fill in those gaps, and let the new person know how the old person had it set up, and what's going to be what to be looking for, and then kind of how things have been done in the past to help them move forward on how things are going to be done in the future. So those are some great points, and then you look at the fact that it might just be that you're freeing up a team to work on projects, so you take the day-to-day hassles off their plate. or vice versa. Maybe you bring in a team of experts to help with those big projects and free up your squad to just handle the day-to-day stuff that that moves your business forward.
Exactly. And we have the expertise to do both. So we're a hosting provider. We do both of those things in tandem every single day. That is what we do. So say you need just that support and that monitoring, that just kind of that something you can just fall back onto. Your guys get into a jam, anything like that. They have a question, they can't find an answer. 24/7 support. Any day of the week, doesn't matter. We can answer those questions.
That's great. All right, so tell us a little bit about what we should be looking for when we're all right. You've convinced me now. I need to get some managed infrastructure on premises. What should I look for when I'm going out to seek that service provider?
Well, like you see on the slide, it's expertise. You have to find that expertise. What is your end result that you want to come out of your infrastructure? We've handled 1.8 billion logins since 1996. That number alone, just that 1.8 billion, that's a pretty unfathomable number, but that's not even counting any of the transactions or anything like that, any of the data transfers. All of that is it just constantly growing and expanding in our world, so we're pretty well versed with that. We've got a Microsoft Gold partnership. We're well diverse in handling anything in the Microsoft world.
Okay.
As well as handling anything, from your networking equipment to your storage to your backups and disaster recovery plans, anything like that. We're going to be able to help you get to that point and get those results that you want from your infrastructure.
Okay. So first thing that you're saying you should look for in a managed infrastructure service provider would be that level of expertise. What about the access to that expertise? What should we be looking for there?
So if you want to go to a service provider to help you with your infrastructure, you want to be able to access them whenever you need something.
Right.
Generally, when you're going to be needing that access, you're going to need it right away. You're going to be in some sort of jam, or you're going to need a project that has a deadline. We have 24/7, 365 support with a 6-minute response time. And that's not canned response times, that's not auto-generated response times. That is an actual engineer on the other side responding to you, whether they're asking you questions to gather more information or giving you timelines of, yes, we can handle this, we'll get this done, we'll get returns back to you on, in X time. It's real people. You can call in 24/7, 365. It's not even just ticket submissions. You can call in and a human's going to answer that phone and get you at least to the person that you want if they can't answer the question themselves. So, and we're USA based. You're not calling to somewhere overseas and getting, these big call centers. Right. and anything like that. These are real engineers sitting in our offices here in the United States. So that access it's there. It's consistent. It's always going to be there. So
there's a couple key differentiators there when you think about a number of companies probably offer 24/7 support, but is that support with a call center overseas and then the real help comes days later, or is it an engineer that's responding within 6 minutes? I think that's a pretty big difference. So that's a great point and one worth comparing others to.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit more. What else should we be looking for besides that expertise and that access to expertise?
So I got kind of a client example that I'd like to talk about. So we had a client come to us and they told us that they had to keep their infrastructure on premise.
Okay.
So we did kind of a discovery into their environment, talked to them about what their needs were, what they kind of expected to come out of their infrastructure. And what we found was that they didn't have any monitoring in their environment. So that is all the way down to the physical layer. We're talking about physical disk space. We're talking about network monitoring. They didn't have any SQL database expertise. And they were running a SharePoint. This is, SharePoint specific example, but they're running SharePoint. SharePoint leverages Microsoft SQL.
Right.
So, when you're customizing things, you're going to need some of that SQL expertise to be really successful. You know, they didn't have any sort of patching implementation, anything like that. So all of their patching and upgrades were completely out of date. And they had no backup system or disaster recovery plan. So if, say, you know, one of their virtual machines goes down, they just had to start from scratch and rebuild it. You know, and everybody knows that the disaster recovery is something that everybody has to have.
Right.
You know, you have to have that plan to mitigate time and cost. So we were able to go through and help them put all of these key things in place, and now they're at a really good point. They're, you know, no downtime. If anything goes wrong, they're able to spin machines right back up, right where they left off. You know, they're able to see things, you know, going wrong before they're going wrong.
A little more proactive.
Exactly.
Approach. Okay.
You know, they're, like you said, proactive, not reactive. So, you know, all their patching's up to date, and it's done automatically. So there's less human interaction and curation that needs to be done in their environment now. So
Okay.
they're in a much better spot.
All right, so that's kind of a unique example that really focused in on a client, you know, basically looking for some SharePoint assistance and then widening that out to get some more infrastructure management.
Mm-hmm.
But you can see how that would illuminate, you know, the vice versa, starting wide and then going narrow. So we could monitor and provide other infrastructure management. You know, what are some other things outside of that example?
So, you know, we touched on the backup and disaster recovery. So we're really good at creating plans. You know, there's not a template that we just kind of assign and say, here, you should follow this. You know, here's what works. Everybody's environment is different.
Okay.
Everybody's is unique to some extent. You might be using some of the same technologies and same processes, but it's going to be unique on some level.
Okay.
What we do is we work with you. We figure out what's best, what's needed. You know, some people need a really grand, you know, very in-depth disaster recovery plan, you know, multi-data center type things, and some people just need it just to be safe.
Yeah.
You know, so we can come through and, you know, we use Commvault, we use Veeam, you know, we can back up just virtual hard drives, we can back up file system, SQL databases, we can do document item level backup. So if you say somebody deletes an Excel spreadsheet off of a site, we can go and drill down and get that just one single Excel spreadsheet.
Okay.
We can also back up virtual machines. We can also back up your physical host machines. So, you know, we're talking physical layer all the way up to your application presentation session layers.
Gotcha. Very customizable.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a little more detail in terms of backup. What about monitoring?
So, yeah, monitoring is extremely key. That helps you be proactive instead of reactive.
Okay.
So we use SolarWinds in-house, and a lot of people are familiar with SolarWinds. It's a very large, popular tool. Tons of different modules in it that basically we can monitor and alert on everything. You know, network performance is a big key one. You know, web performance, we can set it up to drill down to a specific page on your site and goes through several login stages, accesses a document or a calendar and does some sort of transaction there to let us know that my site is up, it's fully available, it's there for me when I need it. And if anything changes, alerts are sent out immediately. And you can set thresholds to send out alerts every 5 minutes until somebody acknowledges that. But, you know, our support team gets those alerts and we automatically create those support tickets, you know, letting you know, hey, we're on it. We're looking into it, we see it, we'll let you know. You know, we can monitor drive space, your RAM usage, your CPU usage. And this is all, we can track this back historically. So if all of a sudden something in your environment changes and your site starts running slow, we can go back and we can look at all of this historical data and say, here is a date range where something changed.
Okay. And you can pinpoint.
Exactly.
Okay.
We can determine what changed, when it changed, and then it helps us get to a root cause a lot faster.
I see. All right. So that's monitoring. What about patching? You know, is that something? You know, what's on the menu there in terms of things we could look for?
So patching is a pretty big deal. A lot of it for security purposes, but you know, everything gets an update. You know, Microsoft pushes out their updates the second Tuesday of the month. and you have to stay on top of those. You have to have some sort of plan. We have, we leverage Windows update system.
Okay.
So we can kind of automatically push those updates out when we need to, how we need to. We can select what updates, what machines get, put them in different groups. So basically, say you're the client and you have a maintenance window on a Wednesday at 10 p.m.
Right. Okay.
You select what machines need what updates. We tell the machines, hey, you're going to download these at this time. They automatically go in. They automatically restart themselves. They automatically update themselves in your window.
Okay.
So it just kind of alleviates some of that pressure to, okay, I have to make sure that I'm constantly going in and making sure my machines are updated. These automatically do that for you.
Gotcha. Okay. So you can see how, Dan set the bar pretty high with what Fpweb.net can provide in terms of managed infrastructure on premises. But you can easily see how that can translate into a checklist of things that you can look for. I mean, he talked about the level of expertise. When he said 1.8 billion with a B logins managed since 1996, I mean, that's going back 20 years of experience there. So you start looking at other choices, other service providers. That's going to be a benchmark that can easily be compared to. We talked about access to expertise, and we talked about the difference of what 24/7 support might look like versus 24/7 support to experts based in St. Louis here in the United States that have a live response, whether that's a ticket submission or a phone call 24 hours a day. And then you talk about the expert tools. Yeah, sure, you could handle this yourself, but you would be dealing with the licensing issues, right?
Mm-hmm.
On these, you talked about Commvault, VM,
Yep.
You talked about SolarWinds and Windows software updates.
Mm-hmm.
So you could get that level of expertise to take that off your plate, and that level of expertise comes with the expert tools, and it's all in one package now, and that allows you to move more strategically towards your company goals, and you can have your smart people that are in house working to innovate for your business, and letting a company like us
Mm-hmm.
manage your infrastructure behind the scenes for you.
Exactly.
So I'm gonna toss up here our website, Fpweb.net, and if you would like to give us a call, the number is 866-780-4678, or just send us an email, sales@fpweb.net, and we can start scoping out what your needs might look like and what your and start putting together a plan for managing your infrastructure if you're on premises. And all right, Dan, should we open it up for a couple questions?
I believe we should.
Let me open up this. Okay, looks like the first one is, what about support for other things? So I would. That's a great point, because we talked about earlier in the example of client example coming to us with some SharePoint needs and then expanding to managing their infrastructure. But you can flip that around and say, so you can manage our infrastructure. I think we've established
Mm-hmm.
that. But what else can you do more on an application level, right?
Exactly.
On top of that.
We can give support for your admin services. Say you just don't have anybody to add users or anything to your site. We can help. We can get you that. Database. We talked about the one use case where they didn't have anybody that was a SQL database expert. We can handle that for you. We can help there. Development. If you need any customizations, if you need anything other than the out-of-the-box, application type stuff, we can help with that. Even if you just need support, say you lose a developer, and you need support, you need help, rediscover your environment or things like that, we can help there. Security, big thing. We've got the security experts and the know-how and the knowledge here. We can make sure that you're safe and secure.
All right, let's see. The next one I see on there is, how much does this cost? Always a great question and a fair point. And the short answer is it depends, and the longer answer would be once we scope this project, get into what your needs are, and we can start figuring that out. But like Dan's been talking about, it's such a scalable process when you can talk about how wide or how deep this monitoring and patching and that can go in terms of how granular you want to get with how much of the infrastructure you need managed. So give us a call or send us an email. We can definitely get started on what that would cost. You see any other questions on there?
Yeah, there is a question on here that says, what are the limitations? I'm assuming this is the limitations on what we can do. So there really aren't limitations. If we need to be physically out there for a project to assist you, we can physically be there. If we need to review your firewall logs, we can review those logs. We have the syslog servers. We can pump those in. We can help on layer 2 switching and routing. As far down as you want to go, we can assist. As high up on the stack as you want to go, we can assist, and everything in between. So it really all depends on what your needs are, where your shortcomings might be. Let us fill those gaps. We've got that knowledge and that expertise. We can step in and really help there.
That's a great point. So if the only limitation was that you couldn't get access to their infrastructure on premises, and you can provide the steps and the help with getting us the access that we need to provide that help, that's something that we offer. And then, like Dan said, if you need someone on site physically, we can make that happen too.
Yeah.
Dan's willing to travel.
I do. I like travel.
Or as long as we can schedule that in. So, I think we've covered all the questions that we got so far. So let's move on to announcing our winner of today's $50 Amazon gift card. Here, I'll just pass this mouse on you. You can pull somebody out of the bucket there.
All right. Let's quickly. All right. Let's go with, looks like Nathan Faust is the winner.
Nathan Faust, congratulations. You have just been selected to win a $50 Amazon gift card, courtesy of Fpweb.net. Thanks for joining us today for our FP webinar. And stay tuned next week, for the next one. It'll be Tuesday, January 31st, 1 o'clock p.m. Central Time. The topic will be what's new with SharePoint 2016. And I will be emailing a recording of today's FP webinar out shortly, as well as an invite to that next FP webinar, January 31st. Thanks a lot.